Caitlin Clark has finally reached her limit, and the clip is racing across every corner of the sports internet as we speak. On a hard-charging drive to the rim, she took a heavy shot to the quad from the defender and crumpled to the hardwood, visibly hurting. Somehow she still finished the layup, but as she hobbled back on defense with a hand pressed to her leg, the officials swallowed the whistle entirely, and that is when everything unraveled. Moments later, after a foul was called against Indiana at the other end, a furious Clark stormed toward the official and let her have it point blank, an eruption so heated that plenty of people watching assumed a technical was coming, yet inexplicably one never came. Make no mistake, this has turned into a genuine season-defining flashpoint. So which is it? Are the referees quietly putting a target on the back of the league's biggest draw, or is this just the ordinary punishment that comes with elite professional defense? It is fair to ask why the crew suggested Clark was the one who initiated contact when the slow-motion replay tells a very different story about who hit whom, and you have to wonder how much more her body can absorb before one of these uncalled collisions turns into something that ends her year. Is the WNBA neglecting to shield the most valuable asset it has ever had, or are we watching a superstar who believes the rules should bend for her? The longer you sit with this footage, the more it feels like a pressure point the league can no longer pretend not to see. In this breakdown, we slow the moment of impact all the way down, and we lay out exactly what Clark was heard shouting at the official once the words became clear. We will also add up the real price of this officiating mess and stare directly at the very real possibility of discipline hanging over her head. One bad collision like this could unravel Indiana's entire campaign long before the postseason even arrives. But first, tell me honestly, do you think the referees are treating Caitlin unfairly, or does she complain far too much? Drop your take in the comments below. Now on to the second clip.
The refs are bums. Yo, look, man, this league is ridiculous. Caitlin Clark can't get a foul call to save her damn life. She's getting knocked out of the air. All types of stuff. All types of stuff. No foul calls. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Stephanie White was completely out-coached by Natalie Nakase. Natalie Nakase put a hell of a plan together. Kelsey Mitchell couldn't get it going. Caitlin Clark couldn't get it going, but for vastly different reasons, okay? This entire...
The commentary in this next segment lays bare a glaring double standard in how this league gets officiated. Watch it closely and you are seeing a franchise cornerstone hung out to dry by the crew while the opposing defense commits what looks like open theft with zero consequence. It is completely fair to say Clark is getting hammered without any protection, because the sight of her absorbing full force contact in midair with no whistle has become almost impossible to explain away. That said, chalking her limited minutes up to simple stat padding conveniently ignores the medical truth of trying to preserve a franchise player who is battered on a nightly basis. This has moved well past one rough evening for the referees. It has become an organizational breakdown that is quietly eating away at the credibility of the game itself. You can feel the frustration spilling over in this clip, and it forces a real question about what is happening beneath the surface. Are the officials deliberately letting defenders lean into excessive physicality just to make a point to the most popular player in the sport? Why does it so often look like the crew is calling a completely different game the instant Clark gets knocked out of the air? How is a coaching staff supposed to run any kind of offense when their generational talent is used as a heavy bag on every single possession? And if the league genuinely wants to grow, why gamble its most bankable star on this level of injury risk with no safety net underneath her? The uncomfortable reality is that the officiating here has crossed the line from merely inconsistent into something closer to outright negligence. Opposing teams have clearly figured out that the whistle rewards aggressive defenders, and they are leaning on that discovery to grind Clark down physically. We have watched this play out all season long, where borderline dangerous defensive tactics get a pass while any pushback or protest from the Fever draws an instant penalty. If the league refuses to confront this gap soon, it is flirting with the kind of serious injury that could stall the momentum of the entire sport. And this exact physical toll is why the tension around coaching calls and roster management is now spilling into full public view.
I've got to be honest, the officials allowed her the moment to get the emotions out of her, and some officials wouldn't do that, especially with, as some would say, officials.
What you are witnessing in this clip is a star who has been shoved past her breaking point, one too many times. When Caitlin Clark erupts into a furious, expletive-laced rant about being fouled again and again with no whistle, her anger is entirely earned. The crew let defenders wander into genuinely unsafe territory all night, which makes her fury completely defensible from a pure player safety standpoint. The problem is the delivery, because screaming profanity directly into an official's face is a serious gamble that can trigger an ejection in a heartbeat. That explosive moment instantly flips the story from bad officiating onto her own self-control, and it leaves everyone wondering where this goes next. You probably watched that Raw exchange and immediately asked yourself how on earth she escaped an ejection after unloading those exact words. Why do the whistles vanish the second she takes a hit, only to reappear the instant she stands up for herself? Does this level of rage prove that the physical grind of the season is finally cracking her composure out on the floor? And if she keeps collecting texts for outbursts like this one, could the league eventually drop costly discipline that torpedoes Indiana's postseason hopes? These questions are stacking up fast as the tension climbs toward a point that simply cannot hold. The truth is that Clark is stuck in a brutal loop, where her growing reputation as a complainer is drowning out the very real physical abuse she is actually taking. The referees are letting her get pounded to assert their own authority, but that overcorrection only makes her reactions sharper and more combustible. We have watched this cycle intensify over the last several weeks, and the league is privately dreading the public relations firestorm that any suspension would set off. This kind of pressure cannot last, and the fallout from this specific game is already rattling front offices across the entire league.
Clark snapping on the damn referee. She frustrated. She can't get a freaking call, man. It's damn near unwatchable, bro. It's almost like Caitlin Clark is getting punished for being good. She's getting punished for being a good player by the league she grew up watching. Could you imagine being a fan of something, you finally get a chance to do what you love to do since you was a kid? Y'all ever heard the old saying where your idols become rivals? That is exactly what Caitlin Clark is going through in the WNBA. That's probably all she ever wanted as a kid, was to play in this league. And this league, unbeknownst to her, making it their business to make her, to give her a hard damn time.
What you are looking at here is a raw, unfiltered glimpse into a deeply psychological storyline swallowing the whole WNBA. The claim that a generational talent is being punished by the very league she grew up dreaming about simply for being too good is a heavy accusation to level, but the film makes it awfully hard to wave away. You can read the sheer exhaustion in her body language as defenders get away with physical, borderline reckless play while she receives no whistle protection whatsoever. Now, calling it a coordinated league-wide plot to break her is a reach, but it is entirely accurate to say that veteran resentment and defensive over-aggression have built a hostile environment the referees are utterly failing to police. This on-court psychological warfare raises structural alarms that stretch far beyond a handful of missed calls. It is genuinely painful to watch a young star realize her childhood idols have become her fiercest rivals, and that realization leaves some weighty questions hanging in the air. Is the league quietly allowing veterans to haze her with hyper-physical play just to protect the pecking order that existed before she arrived? Why does the front office seem so comfortable letting its single biggest gate attraction get pummeled night after night at the risk of a season-ending injury? Does this double standard come from plain referee incompetence, or is there a subconscious bias against a rookie who stole the spotlight the moment she walked in? And if this pattern of unpunished contact keeps rolling, will it eventually force her to abandon the aggressive highlight reel style that made her a phenomenon just to survive the schedule? The reality is that the WNBA is caught between its traditional, physical brand of basketball and the modern necessity of protecting the enormous new investment it just landed. Veterans are absolutely playing her with an extra chip on their shoulder, and the referees are letting the game spiral to avoid the appearance of handing a rookie special treatment. That overcorrection has bred a toxic atmosphere where defenders feel free to test her physical limits with no fear of a whistle. By refusing to draw a firm line on the excessive contact, the league is playing a dangerous game that is closing in fast on a point of no return, and that floor-level tension is exactly what fuels the explosive headline-grabbing reactions that keep rewriting the season's story. Because what came next was the boiling point of a superstar who has finally had enough. In her post-game comments, Clark called out the officiating crew directly for ignoring what she described as a knee straight to her quad, exposing what she sees as a total failure of basic player protection. She is right to demand accountability out loud because forcing a player to run for the rest of a game on a painful uncalled contusion is a genuine long-term injury risk. This is no longer about a single missed whistle on a fast break. It is about protecting the health of the one player carrying the financial future of this entire league. You probably felt the weight in her voice at that podium, and it raises some urgent questions of its own. How does a professional referee standing just feet from the play miss a direct high-impact blow to her leg? Are these officials deliberately holding their whistles on heavy collisions to avoid looking like they are handing her star treatment? And if a visible contusion gets waved off, what happens the day a defender catches her in midair and causes something structural and season-ending? Does her coaching staff need to eat a massive league fine to publicly demand better protection before it is too late? The hard truth is that the current officiating hierarchy is letting the physicality run wild in service of an outdated definition of toughness. The referees keep swallowing obvious painful fouls because they are hesitating under the unprecedented media microscope that trails every single Indiana game. And by refusing to call these clear penalties, the league is normalizing a level of targeting that would draw immediate flagrants in almost any other pro sport. Ultimately, this is not really about one missed call or one heated press conference. It is a defining crossroads where the WNBA has to decide how it will protect the very players driving its historic growth. As the physical toll on Caitlin Clark keeps mounting, the line between hard-nosed competition and outright negligence has worn dangerously thin. If the league will not establish a fair, consistent officiating standard right now, it risks sacrificing its brightest star and the momentum of the whole sport on the altar of outdated physical hazing. If you want to stay ahead of every twist as this drama unfolds, subscribe to the channel so you never miss our deep dives into the court battles and front office decisions shaping the future of the WNBA.